You're listening to GotTechED the Podcast with your hosts, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson. Welcome back to GotTechED the Podcast. This is episode 95 called 25 Websites That Teachers Should Know About, Part 2. This is part 2 of a two-part series where we share 25 totally awesome websites. There's something for everybody on this list, K through 12, all subject areas. And of course, it's another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, so we are almost done with our first month of school. It seems like it's going by pretty quick. We have a month of our new class, which is World Ready Technology, where students are making podcast episodes. They're making their own podcasts, and we're going to be putting them on HVSPN. Super excited about it. They have some awesome ideas. Maybe, do you want to share one of your favorite ideas that the students are coming up with?
Yeah, it's really cool just to hear the things that, high school students want to talk about and what they're interested in when you give them free range to share, which is kind of one of the things we wanted to see in developing this course, and it's happening, which is great because we have such a wide variety. I think my favorite one of the kids, I think it's a pair of students actually, want to do a sports podcast, which is tough because there's so many of those out there. That's actually tough across the board because there's just a lot of podcasts in general, but sports in particular, tough to talk about. But they have a pretty cool twist on it, and they're going to talk about athletes, multiple sport athletes, which I think is kind of an interesting angle. And most of those guys, most of those people who play multiple sports, there's a pretty good story behind that. Everybody thinks of historically Jim Thorpe, who was like super athlete guy from I don't even know when, but really cool story behind that person and behind all these people that are just so talented that they're really just picking and choosing what professional sports they play because they can do so many of them. And I'm just excited to see what kind of stuff comes out of that, what kind of research this student brings to the game, and what that show looks like.
Yeah, I know for me, I don't think of Jim Thorpe as my first go-to guy. I think of Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, those types. But yeah, that was one that I was very interested about. Another one was it's a podcast group of two students, and they want to do, I don't know really how to explain it other than saying, I remember my dad, he would tell these stories when I thought something was tough. He would always go, I used to walk up the hill to school in 3 foot of snow, my bare feet both weight. I don't know how that's possible, but I remember him saying that a lot, like stories like that. Well, this group wants to do the same thing, but they're going to do it with comparing their life now to people that are 10 years old. And I think that's pretty funny, and I have a feeling it's going to turn into a bunch of those stories as well.
Yeah, they cracked me up because they're, to our eyes, we're both in our 30s, and to our eyes, these high school students, they seem like kids, but their theme, is talking about growing up and what it was like when they were kids. And it's just funny to hear people that I view as kids talking about being kids and those differences. They're referencing the 2010s as like this bygone era of when they were children and what it was like. So that's going to be a super cool one. We've also got a kid I have to mention who's a pilot. He just turned 18 and he did his first solo flight, which I just find fascinating to begin with, that's something you've taken on at that young of an age. But he's going to do like a flight themed podcast. I told him to call it Close Calls because then he could do stories about flying incidents that were close calls that he shares. He can bring on guests or just find stuff out there that are cool flight stories. But I can't wait to listen to that one because it's just well, maybe because I'm terrified of flying that I just am like obsessed with hearing stories about it, but I think that one's going to be cool.
Well, you know that he's going to invite you to fly, right?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it, and I will promptly turn him down. I can barely handle like a passenger airliner. I can't handle a tiny little plane like that. So
they are fun. I got to do one back when I used to study moose and wolves on Isle Royale. I got to come home on a 4-seater plane in turbulence. It was fantastic. Yeah, I was a little white-faced pretty much the whole way there. and the whole way back, I should say, because that turbulence was something else. I didn't know that was normal. So I was a little skittish as well.
He should have you on as a guest for an episode then.
Yeah, I'll keep that one to myself. But
yeah.
I would probably do the episode.
Yeah,
that
sure.
would be fun.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so this is the second part of a 2-part series. In the first part, we went over 12 websites that we wanted teachers to check out. They all had some type of a function, and they served a purpose, and they served it well. We're going to continue into that. I'm going to let Nick start today. Just remember that everything is linked in the show notes. So if you're driving your car, no need to pull over and write down the website. Just check out the show notes at www.gottech.com/episode 95.
Yep, 95. And then, if you didn't listen to 94, if you're listening to this one first, it's all good, but you're only actually getting 12 websites on this list. For the other 13, you would have to go back to episode 94 if you care to. A lot of these are themed towards younger grades, so keep that in mind. But like we said at the start of 94, there's something for everybody on this list too. And I always find as a high school teacher, hearing about lower grade lessons, I always find it fascinating, and I can usually kind of glean something from that for the upper grades too. So I think everybody's going to benefit from hearing some of these. You can follow GotTechED outside the podcast at gottech.com or on Twitter at WeGotTechED. The first one on the list is fcrr.org. fcrr.org. These are basically free learning centers or free lessons. You can think about it, all sort of geared towards reading and research at the youngest grades possible, so kindergarten and first grade, so students that are just learning to read for the first time. I just want to go through and sort of read some of the pre-planned lessons that are on here and the topics they're in, because I think this is really cool. They have a whole sort of grouping of things on phonological or phonological, I'm not sure how to say that, awareness, and there's lessons grouped in topics like rhyming. So I think I see 9 different rhyming lessons, like pocket rhymes or rhyming games, or matching rhyme time, and I'm not going to go into details on any of these, but there's just some really cool stuff. They've got alliteration, right? So more complex literary devices. There's 3 lessons for that. One of them is called the Silly Sentence Big Book, and that's kind of what I mean. Like at the high school level, we are teaching alliteration as a literary device in our English classes. The next one, sentence segmentation, syllables, onset and rhyme, phoneme matching. I'm just scrolling down here. There's so much cool stuff. So any of these things are ready to go. You click on the link on this website, and it kind of walks you through that lesson. They've also got phonics stuff, which is really great for the same sort of thing. Fluency, so getting down to details as close as letter recognition and connected text vocabulary. It's almost like it's never ending here. So I'll stop going through these only because I think everybody gets the idea here, but there's just so much stuff on this site, fcrr.org. Definitely going to want to check that one out.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome tool. I'm going to go into my first one. This one is fantastic. It's called Hemingway Editor. It won't make you write like Ernest Hemingway, but it will get you close. That's kind of their tagline. What you're going to do here, basically, students can use this. Students can use this, and I would encourage students to using it. I don't feel like it's cheating. I feel like it's helping them identify their weaknesses. So I almost look at it like Grammarly, but it will actually grade them based on a couple of different topics, and it will show them their weaknesses, and it will help them learn parts of writing. So basically they would put in some type of a writing essay, and the Hemingway editor will grade it. It analyzes the number of adverbs, and it will teach them that sometimes having an adverb weakens the verb. So, they want to watch out for that. It also identifies instances of passive voice. And I learned in formal writing that passive voice is not good. You always want to avoid writing in the passive voice. It also identifies words or phrases with simpler alternatives. So a lot of times it's going to analyze whether that sentence is hard to read. Sometimes when you write something, it sounds different than when you read it. Well, this is going to help you identify those sentences that might not be clear, and it might make some suggestions on how to make it more clear. The last thing that I want to say is when you put in your essay and you get it back from Hemingway editor, it has everything color coded. So passive voice is one color, adverbs are another color, things like that. Things that are hard to read will be a different color. And then, and it's different tiered. So if it's just slightly hard to read, it's yellow. If it's really, really hard to read, it's red. So it gives the writer some instant feedback. Teachers can use it too. If they don't want to share the tool with their students, they can use it to kind of just get a feel for the piece before they read it, if they want to do so. Students, I would recommend pushing it out to students because that's going to make the writing just so much better.
Sounds great. I know the passive voice thing in particular, if you ever have had to focus on not writing in the passive voice, it's really hard to do. So any tool that sort of calls that out is a winner in my book. So I love stuff like this. The next one, so our third on the list for this episode, is called The Kids Should See This. And it's a unique name. TheKidsShouldSeeThis.com is the actual URL. It kind of just sounds like they weren't sure what to call it, so they just described it literally what it is. Although that title doesn't tell you is that it's a collection of videos. The idea behind The Kids Should See This is just a smarter, higher quality curation of videos. So it's like a YouTube, but where somebody monitors what goes on there and makes sure that it's good, high quality, kid friendly. Right now they have over 5,000 kid-friendly videos that are curated specifically for teachers. They also say this could just be used, if you're a mindful parent who wants to or doesn't mind showing their kids video, you can use this website as well to make sure they're getting quality stuff. So that's sort of their tagline. Again, it's share smarter, more meaningful media. Everything's grown-up friendly as well. So they say that it is for kids, but if you're an adult, this is just cool stuff. Right now there's a feature on their main page called What to Watch This Week that has some samples of the types of things you can expect. Let me read 3 of these. The first one is called Adorable Baby Eastern Quolls, Quolls. I don't know what a quoll is. Based on the picture I'm seeing, some type of animal, and it seems like they live in Australia. So already I've learned something from this site, and I kind of want to watch that video to check out what a quoll is all about. Another one, An Eagle's Feather, an animation about the mighty Philippine eagle. And then the last one, animated with t-shirts, 200 people celebrate 20 years of the Gateshead Millennium Bridge. So intriguing stuff, and I have clicked on and watched a couple of these. Really, really high quality. They're like documentary quality stuff. There's even like mountain biking ones here. Just really something for everybody across all subject areas. I am extremely excited about TheKidsShouldSeeThis.com.
My next one is called Bottle. Bottle is a K through 6 curriculum area where it transforms math with engagement, and they can learn math while also playing this 3D math game. So it makes learning fun and personalized. So you could sign up for free as a teacher or a parent. I'm using this as a parent for my son, who is in kindergarten, but he loves math, and he's beyond the kindergarten level. Here in Pennsylvania, we have half-day kindergarten in Bucks County, so he goes to school, and there's only a small amount of time dedicated to math. So we're using this to supplement some of his math, adventures, I would say, because he's starting to push in the 2nd and 3rd grade math. So Bottle is an awesome one. So you're going to engage your students with these fun little games that they could play while learning math skills. You can differentiate learning with adaptive technology in this. And the whole goal here is to close learning gaps and get real-time data. So we could help, in my case, my son improve, or in your case, your students improve. It says that it's free to download to the teacher and to the parent. So it's pretty simple. You sign up, you get your students to log in, and then after that, you start creating assignments, tracking performance, and addressing those learning gaps by using the data that you are collecting. So that is bottle.com, bottlelearning.com.
That sounds really cool. I love these little math games that let kids practice. Math was always my weakest thing and probably still is. And if not for being able to play, I remember there was one we had on my home computer that was like, I don't know, sort of like that mole smashing game at carnivals, but there were little ladybugs crawling around or it's some kind of bug. and you smashed it, and every time you smashed one, it was like a multiplication, like a times table thing that popped up. And I love that stupid game. I don't know why. And to this day, I still think about smashing a ladybug every time I do like 5 times 7. So this stuff's great. Bottle Learning, check it out. The next one is sort of similar to Hemingway Editor. It's called Quillbot. Quillbot is very cool, and you can find this at quillbot.com. It does a really unique thing that I actually haven't seen anywhere else. You can take some text, copy paste it in to the web page. So there's no downloads or anything here. You just go to quillbot.com, copy paste in some text, and click the green paraphrase button, and Quillbot takes that text and summarizes it for you. Rewords it in some different language by replacing certain words, changing the sentence structure around. So you can read that text in a summarized way, or at least in a different way. I see this being used at least at the high school levels. I know sometimes, for science especially, you can read some pretty weighty things, some pretty complex language. And students, when they read that, a lot of the time, their head just kind of spins with, what am I even reading here? And that can be true across the board, in any subject area. Well, if you give them the option to read the original, but then have it paraphrased automatically for them and read it a different way, that can make a huge difference. So they have a sample here. The original text sounds like this. Quillbot's paraphraser takes your sentences and makes changes, helping you to rework and rephrase your content quickly and efficiently. So that's the original. When you hit the paraphrase button, it turns it into this. Quillbot's paraphraser takes your sentences and alters them, allowing you to swiftly revise and rewrite your text. So it's giving you the same information, it's just saying it a different way. And I think that could really help kids learn and process through information. I know it did me, just doing it with that sentence. Not that there's anything hard to understand in there, but I think it makes the point of what it's trying to do. So this is a really, really awesome tool, and I think people need to know about Quillbot.
Yeah, I think that's next level comprehension, strategy to get maybe to close that learning gap, especially with students who have trouble understanding what they read.
Right.
So that's an awesome one. I'm going to go into my next one. I love this idea. It's called mysterydoug.com. So mysterydoug.com, basically, it shows a video every week. You could sign up for this free forever a newsletter, and each week it's going to give you a video about a question that inspires your students to think. If I would put that in your last tool, it would say, show a video every week that inspires your students to ask questions. So I'm going to give you a couple of the questions, and these are only meant to be 5-minute breaks for your classroom. So if you're in one of the younger classes, that would be great for morning meeting, snack time, right after recess, just a transition between two subjects. You could do it as a reward or a warm-up. But every video answers real student questions like, why do we get goosebumps? Why does soap make bubbles? Can a turtle live outside its shell? I'm going to add this one because my son just asked me this the other day. It's not how babies are made, though he has asked me that in the past. I still haven't given him an answer, but it was, why is the sky blue? So that's a common one. So if this is something that interests you, check out mysterydoug.com and go over and sign up for the free forever newsletter, which gives you one video that goes over one of these questions each week.
That's awesome. I love stuff like this. I can't wait till my daughter's old enough to start asking these questions, and when she does, if she's with me, it's not going to be a problem. But if she's with my wife, my wife's answer to why is the sky blue would be because it is. That's the level she's at in like caring about things like that. I think that stuff is fascinating. So I'm going to make sure that my daughter knows about Mystery Doug. So if she's not with me, she has a place to get an answer.
Actually, can we videotape your wife watching one of the Mystery Ducks? Yeah. I think that would be even more entertaining.
That'd be entertaining, but it would just be a video of her not paying attention to what the video it's about.
I could see her being actually, I probably would get the same response from my wife, and she'll be like, he probably already knows that. I was like, I don't think so.
So the next one we've got here is called ReadWorks. This is a repository of articles with questions that sort of help more with this theme. you're seeing here of reading comprehension. One of the best things about it is that it sorts by lexile. So depending on what level you're at, you can kind of find something that works for you. And that's a really great thing to have in all these reading comprehension sites. And this is another great one. So you can kind of use this in 3 ways. If you go there and find an article that you like and it's at the proper reading level, you can share it digitally. So give students digital access where if they have a Chromebook or an iPad, they can highlight, annotate, and even complete assignments all fully within ReadWorks, which is really cool. If you don't want to do that or can't or have students who need or prefer print, you can print out any of the content and do it all that way, as well as project it. And they have some built-in kind of smartboard utilities as well, so that those highlighting and annotating features can happen on the smartboard too, which is pretty cool. They have everything in terms of topics, so STEM, poetry, social studies, literary stuff, fiction, even fun things like just holidays and events. So, if you got Christmas coming up or whatever holiday you're celebrating, you might be able to find a cool, maybe a historical article on that, and just kind of share it out. And it helps kids kind of work through reading that text and figuring out what it means. And then last thing I'll say about it is beyond just the different levels of reading, it also differentiates automatically for every student in your class, every learner. So they call them step reads, where you get a less complex version of the original passage to help certain students process through. They have an audio reader, so it reads the text out loud, and additional supports as well for students who need it. So this is a really great resource. That is readworks.org, readworks.org.
All right, so the next one we might have mentioned in one episode in the past, but we thought we'd bring it back up because it is a standalone website that does a lot of great things. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of great things. You could use it. It does one thing, but you could use it for a lot of great things. It's called the Wheel of Names. So the Wheel of Names allows you to randomize a class set of names. So if you want everything to be fair, if you need to pick groups, you want to pick groups randomly, you could use the Wheel of Names. If you want to draw who's going to be this week's show and tell rock star or this week's featured student, you could use the Wheel of Names to do that. Just adds an extra level of excitement to your students to see that their name is randomly picked. So that's pretty cool as well. But the Wheel of Names, think of any time that you need to pick someone out of the class or choose groups or anything along those lines, you could use thewheelofnames.com.
Love Wheel of Names. I also love this next one. We're calling it a website here, and it is. It's at whosmarted.com. But it's actually a podcast, and you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's on this list and deserves to be mentioned because it is for kids. It's a podcast uniquely for kids. It's from a group who has also, if you know Brain Games or Brain Child, those are 2 pretty popular other tools for kids. They put out this podcast really for elementary school students who like to learn stuff and like to listen. So obviously we're huge podcast fans. And so this is right up our wheelhouse. If you go to whosmarted.com, you can listen and view all their episodes there, as well as like a little trailer. And I just think this is a no-brainer, and I don't really know how much of this kind of stuff is out there in terms of podcasting for kids or podcasts that kids can listen to, but this is one that I'm familiar with, and I know it's one that's really good and something you should check out. So they have episodes on different things that, really a range of topics to appeal to a range of kids and their interests. So whosmarted.com, use it in your classroom. If you've got kids at home, you can sort of cue that up for them and let them know how to use it. I think this is really cool.
Yeah, I think you should probably just tie it in with the next one as well. If you want to take that one away, since it's a similar category.
Yeah, good call. It's the next one on the list is a similar thing. It's at kidslisten.org. So that kind of says it right there, right? It's a Kids Listen activity podcast, same thing. They've got 75 episodes. And you kind of use this website to discover the best stuff that's out there in kids podcasts, right? So if you're wondering what is available in this realm, if you've only ever listened to podcasts for yourself, then you're going to want to check out kidslisten.org and kind of see what they have available. Sort of, they were originally exploring this idea of podcasts as a learning space, and why not bring that in for kids, and then why not have a place where you can go to find out like what's good that's out there. So collection of podcasts for kids, and the coolest part is that they often come with activities too. So if you are a teacher using this in your class and you find a podcast you like, chances are that at kidslisten.org there's going to be an activity set to go along with that. So it kind of helps you build out your lesson plans and what you're going to do with this information. They've also got an app you can join as a member, and they've got like newsletters and stuff. But it just sounds really cool. kidslisten.org.
Yeah, those two I'm very excited to share, especially during our professional development that we do based on podcasting. So we do a lot of that, and these are two resources that we will add to our resource list. The next one is called testpapers.co.za. All right, and this one's I'm going to throw a weird angle at this because basically it's a collection of exam papers, memos, study guides, all those types of things, all in one spot, and it's organized by grade level and subject. So if we give this website to our students, will they try to use one of those papers as their own? Probably someone would, especially if we didn't give them the website. If you gave it to them and say, hey, you could check out some of these to get some ideas, then they know that you know about that site, and maybe that will, kind of deter them from using it. I thought teachers can use it to get example papers for them to look at to pick out weaknesses within writing. Throw it up on the board and be like, all right, let's take a look at this first paragraph, analyze it. What's good about this first paragraph? What's not good? What could we reword or rewrite? Those types of things. So I thought this was a very useful website for those, because I know I often look for example papers, example labs, things like that to use in class, but I don't really want to use them because what if little brother or little sister or cousin is in the class? Obviously I would take off their name, but for some reason if they did identify that, I don't know if that's 100% fair, especially if it's not a well-written one. So if I could find one that was already done on this topic, I think that's a much safer play in the classroom. And to just have a whole bunch of these papers and resources, you could literally print out have 6 different groups and tell them to go over it as a group and try to grade it and figure out the errors and how they can make it better. So I think testpapers.co.za is a great website to consider.
Yep, that's cool. I think as teachers, we're kind of trained to hide this stuff from students. Like, don't let them know that there's a website out there where there's sample papers because they might copy it. I kind of think we need the opposite approach. Let's let them know, but also let them know that we know about it and that we look for that kind of stuff. And more importantly, have the discussion of why it's not okay to just steal those things and use them. I think that would probably in the long run be more effective. And then, like you said, kind of using this as samples for your own lessons, I think could be great. So that's a cool one for sure. We're almost at the end. I think there's 2 more. The second to last one I'll do. It's called flamingtext.com. This is a logo design tool. So you go there. There's a little input area, and you type in any name that you want, so any word, and it automatically suggests like thousands of possible designs of that word in a logo, and you can right-click it and download it. So this is cool for a variety of class projects, maybe literally a logo that you're trying to design. Maybe you're trying to have your students create their own logo for a class project, or we're just going to be getting into this with our podcasting class where students will make a logo for their podcast. So this is a resource that we can give them. flamingtext.com. We've talked about another website that's similar to this. Do you remember what that one is? TextGiraffe?
TextGiraffe.
Yeah. TextGiraffe is another one that does this too. Between the two, right now, looking at what flamingtext.com offers, I kind of like these better, but you can check out both and decide that for yourself. This is a very cool resource, Flaming Text. GotTechED.com.
Yeah, I thought you would like that one. The last one we're going to close it out with is called Writer Igniter. And I absolutely love this one. I'm going to preface this with, in college, I always had these creative ideas, but I am not the strongest writer, so I challenged myself to take a creative writing course. Now, the creative writing, I thought being creative means you come up with your own, your own ideas. Well, I got into this creative writing course, and I was told when to write a poem, when to do this, when to do this, when to do this. I didn't find it very creative. I do like Writer Igniter because what it does is it gives you 4 pieces of info, and then the students have to write and connect everything together. So they have to find creative ways to connect the 4 things together. It's going to give you a character, a situation, a prompt, and a setting. And after the students have those 4 pieces of information, they go and they write whatever they want to connect all 4. And I think if this is just a simple warm-up exercise, I think that makes this extremely awesome. I would definitely be down to do this as a student in a class. I would love this writing exercise. So that's Writer Igniter.
Yep, that sounds super fun. And then imagine how pumped your kids will get to share the weird and kind of crazy things they came up with. That is also the final list of our 25. Remember to check out episode 94 for the first 12. We hope you enjoyed this episode for the final 13 in this 2-parter. If you're a fan of GotTech, remember you can do us some favors by subscribing on Apple or Spotify or Google or any place. You can also find our shows on YouTube, as well as Twitter and Facebook, where we are also active. You can find me at Nick GotTech and Geis at Geis GotTech, or just follow the show at We GotTech. Even better, if you've got some time on your hands, you can write us a podcast review on Apple Podcasts. That'd be the best thing. And then last but certainly not least, tell your friends about us. Tell your friends to check out GotTechED.com, where we also post all our episodes along with different articles and resources and free stuff that you can click and download. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to GotTech the Podcast. Remember to subscribe to our show and follow us at We Got Tech on Twitter so you can stay up to date with the latest episode releases, blog posts, product reviews, and PD announcements. You can also follow Geis and I individually at Geis Got Tech and at Nick Got Tech on Twitter or on Instagram at Nick Got Tech. Finally, remember to check out our website, GotTechED.com, where we post all our episodes, articles, and resources available to you for free. Until next time.